Young mother thought she was having twins, but in one moment her life completely changed. Alexandra Canova and her partner Antonin Kroshin always dreamt of having a big family someday. They just never realized it was going to happen so soon. They assumed they'd have time. Then she got pregnant with twins, or so she'd thought. But an ultrasound revealed the shocking truth. When a couple learns that they're expecting a baby, it can be a very exciting time. So when Alexandra Canova and her partner Antonin Kroshin from the Czech Republic discovered they were having a baby, they were very excited. But they had no idea what life had in store for them. She was 23 years old at the time, but she wasn't scared at all. She already had one child, so she knew exactly what to expect from the bundle of joy cooking in her proverbial oven. But she had no idea what life had in store for her. She assumed that her second pregnancy would be a breeze since she had already had a trial run with her first baby. But when she went to the doctor, she got some information she never could have expected. Canova thought she was having one child, but it turns out that she was having twins. Although women have been having twins for centuries, this birth was about to make history. But no one knew it at the time, not even doctors. Had she been abducted by aliens and taken aboard the mothership? Was she pregnant with alien babies? Was her partner not the father? Was this going to turn into a Maury moment? She had no idea, but an ultrasound offered some insight. Or did it? The initial ultrasound didn't offer much information other than the fact that they could confirm Canova was pregnant. At the early stage of her pregnancy, her doctors were glad to see she was healthy, and no one involved could expect what the next ultrasound would find. Canova's next checkup brought more answers than the first. With just a few more weeks of time, her doctors were able to identify the heartbeat of her baby, and to everyone's joy, they found more than they bargained for. When Canova finally had her ultrasound, she discovered that she was carrying twins. She couldn't believe her luck, and neither could Kroshin. They were going to be parents of 3 rather than 2 children, since Canova already had a child. But their assumptions were a little premature. For months, the couple started planning for twins. They bought baby clothes and the furniture they would need to keep their babies nice and comfortable. But they were oblivious of what was coming, and it was a doozy. As the time passed between checkups, Canova never expected that her pregnancy was out of the ordinary, or that it would soon become international news. Surely having twins isn't something that strange, is it? As Canova's pregnancy continued, she once again felt that something was wrong. So she counted the days until her next doctor's appointment and assured herself that everything would be fine until then. When her next doctor's appointment came around, her doctors looked at her medical records and back at Canova and seemed baffled. What could they see about her that immediately tipped them off that something was wrong? Whatever it was, they knew they needed to get her another ultrasound and figure out what was going on. Her husband, who was by her side during her first pregnancy and who joined his wife to all of her doctor's appointments, couldn't guess what the doctors were expecting to find in this ultrasound. He also didn't suspect that he would soon have more on his plate than he could handle. Ever as her husband and the doctors showed concern for Canova, she didn't let her confidence waver. She knew that she'd taken good care of herself since finding out she was pregnant, and she never missed a dose of her prenatal vitamins. Canova was sure that her babies would be healthy, but the doctor's face told a different story. As Canova was taken to a hospital room for her appointment, she overheard doctors speaking in hushed tones around her and throwing concerned glances her way. What was so obvious to them that she couldn't see? The glances that her doctors gave her as they led her to the room were worrisome. Even Canova started to worry about her health. As she hadn't before, she stepped foot in her doctor's office. When she left the office that day, she too would understand why her doctors were so worried. Canova's ultrasound was a fairly routine procedure, as it is for any expectant mother. But her doctors were concerned at just how much her stomach had grown in the first few months that she was pregnant. That's when doctors gave the couple some news that left them shaken to the core. When the doctors told her that she wasn't carrying twins, she assumed that that meant one of the babies had passed away in utero. Perhaps one of the twins absorbed the other twin, which tends to happen during multiple births. But that wasn't the case either. If Canova wasn't expecting twins, then what was going on? Had she even been pregnant at all, or was she experiencing some strange tumor that had grown at a crazy rate? The answer was something that hadn't been seen in nearly 500 years. Being left without answers made Canova start to fear for her health, and more so for the health of her unborn babies. She'd done everything right and watched what she ate since she learned that she was expecting. Even the thought of losing her babies brought her to tears. At just one glance, her doctors knew that Canova's pregnancy wasn't normal for a woman expecting twins. Her stomach had grown at a rate that wasn't normal for a woman even expecting triplets. The ultrasound they performed brought the doctor's suspicions to light, but they still didn't have answers for the expectant mother. Was Canova expecting triplets? Like anything in medicine, it was hard to tell. Her ultrasound proved that she was at least expecting more babies than she was initially told, but they weren't sure just how many she could expect. For a moment, her heart sank when doctors told her she wasn't having twins. Luckily, she was still pregnant. She just wasn't having only 2 babies. And once she found out the real story, she simply couldn't believe it. The doctors told her she wasn't carrying twins, but she wasn't carrying triplets either. Canova hadn't undergone any kind of fertility treatment, so the likelihood of multiple births was impossible, and yet all signs seemed to suggest otherwise. But how many was she actually having? After making sure for themselves, the doctors broke the news that she was having quadruplets. Understandably, the couple were startled. They initially thought they'd only have 2 children. Suddenly, they realized that they were going to have 5 children in total, including the one they already had. And just when they thought they were through with surprises, another one popped up unexpectedly. Canova and Crotian rushed to the store and started buying for the 2 extra babies they hadn't foreseen. But when she went in for another ultrasound, and it revealed something no one had seen coming. The couple already knew they were having 4 babies, but this time the ultrasound showed that there was a 5th baby in utero. Canova was having quintuplets, but why hadn't doctors detected it before? Doctors didn't know about the 5th baby right away because there were so many fetuses in Canova's belly. They were also constantly moving around in there, so that made it difficult to get an accurate scan. But there was still something they couldn't figure out. Was there a 6th baby? Canova wasn't expecting sextuplets, but she still wanted to know the gender of the babies, so she could figure out how many blue baby outfits versus pink outfits they had to buy. Unfortunately, with so many babies, doctors couldn't make out the gender of the unborn fetuses yet. But would they find out before the birth? The couple had to wait until the babies were born to figure out their genders. When Canova went into labor, there were 40 people in the room to take care of her and the quintuplets. A lot could go wrong with so many babies, but was her life in danger too? Doctors at her hospital had never experienced a multiple birth with so many babies, so extra hands were on deck to keep mother and children safe. A cameraman was even brought in to capture the incredible moment on tape. There was hardly any space in the operating room for Canova's husband or parents to witness the birth. Each baby was looked after by 2 nurses as soon as they were born to check their vitals and make sure they were healthy. It's a common occurrence during multiple births for one or more of the babies to experience health problems or not live long after the birth. It was vital that these nurses check on each and every baby immediately. Because of the amount of babies, Canova needed to deliver by C-section under the supervision of many doctors. This was the safest method of delivery to ensure that there weren't any unnecessary birth complications. Each of the babies needed attention, and extra support was given to the smallest of the children. After just a few days of recovery, Canova and all 5 of her new babies left the hospital to start their life as a family together. According to the neonatal unit's chief medical doctor, the births took place without any complications. The couple was so happy with their new family. But how many boys and girls did they end up having? Canova's mother and her husband's mother not only assisted Canova in carrying the babies out of the hospital, but also joined the new parents at their home for the next few weeks to take care of their grandchildren. But they also insisted on asking for government assistance for their grandchildren because the birth soon became national news. Canova and Crotian were beyond happy with their new family. She gave birth to 4 boys, which she named Daniel, Michael, Alex, and Martin. She also gave birth to a girl named Tereska, but she had no idea she'd broken a record. Of the obstetricians in the room that day was Alina Makarova. She did some research after Canova gave birth and discovered that the family had made local history on the day the quintuplets were born. But what made these babies so special? Makarova was interviewed by The Telegraph. The obstetrician stated that the birth statistics in the Czech Republic had been recorded since 1949, and there was no mention of any quintuplets. So, was Canova the first mom in this region to ever give birth to 5 children? It turns out that in the Czech Republic, quintuplets are born only on average about once every 480 years. What makes this even more interesting is that the odds of conceiving quadruplets naturally is 1 in 7 million. But what about quintuplets born around the world? Quintuplets born around the world are usually the result of some type of fertility treatment, like in vitro fertilization. But since Canova conceived naturally, is it possible that the answer to this mysterious multiple birth lies in her family genes? According to Canova and Crotian, twins run naturally in both of their families. Because of their combined family history, it's not surprising that they gave birth to quintuplets. Caring for one child is tough enough, but 5 can be exhausting. Did they have enough help? People from all over the world offered the couple donations to help support their huge family. They also received plenty of help in taking care of the babies from family and friends. And now that the history-making family is complete, they can look forward to a happy future together. When the story broke that Canova's quints were born, people from all over the world offered their support in the form of donations to the couple. Because an event like this is seldom seen, there were hurdles that the couple had to go through to access the money that was being raised for them. One thing that stopped the couple from getting access to outside donations was the fact that the government had already agreed to give the family some assistance. They provided the family with a nanny, but that was soon proven to not be enough help to care for these 6 young children in the house. Requests of more government assistance were denied, but only because the system had never dealt with a situation like Canova's family before. The Czech Social Affairs Ministry released a statement that said, "Simply put, our system is not prepared for such multiple instances of good luck." Despite the hurdles that the new family has had to endure to take care of their miraculous children, Canova is happily raising her children. With every birthday that passes, the family celebrates with 5 little cakes for each of the children and invite all of their friends over to share in the excitement. At times, 5 babies seems like too much to handle, but Canova and her husband have proved that anything is possible. Medical advisors said that the babies have a 95% chance of growing up healthy, and every day they beat the odds. Even 5 years after the miraculous birth, Canova hasn't lost her stamina as she's grown into motherhood. One thing that fuels her is the fact that her situation is so rare. The chance of naturally conceived quintuplets is 1 in 48 million pregnancies. Some 800 quintuplets live in the world, more than 130 of whom were conceived spontaneously. With years having passed since Alexandra first learned that she was expecting quintuplets, she never expected her children to fill her life with so much joy. But one thing is for sure, she doesn't want to have any more kids.